The Pope is officially dead. Although this is a crazy update, it gets even crazier. It appears that his recent death now somehow seemingly confirms a prophecy, an age-old prophecy that claims that the world will be ending in 2027. Now, it's actually three different instances throughout history that point to this specific date. I don't know if you heard about the theory of the last Pope, but it's pretty interesting. I think everyone should check it out. I'm not here to say that the world will end in 2027. I'm just here to provide some information for us to...
The contradictory updates being given about Jorge Mario Bergoglio's medical condition casts a disturbing light on the way Vatican communications are being managed. There are those who believe that the Pope is already deceased, and that this fact is being kept hidden from the public.
So if you don't know, this was in February when this bishop right here had claimed that Pope Francis had already died months ago, and claimed that it was a big secret in the Vatican and all of the Catholic Church. Now, this isn't really directly into the prophecy just yet. Trust me, we're going to get into that, and it's going to get really good. But I just wanted to drop this, and I wanted to make people think for a second. Why would they have the Pope? You know, why would the Pope just pass after Easter? It's more symbolic, right? It's more symbolic if you have the Pope pass after Easter instead of just some random day in February. And it makes more sense if they had preparations on the back end. What is more interesting that we heard Klaus Schwab said he was going to retire to the WEF like, what, a week or two ago? What's even more interesting that once it was announced that Pope Francis died, Klaus Schwab retired the same day. And he, guess what? This isn't even with none of the prophecy. They said the replacement for the WEF will be here by 2027. That's pretty interesting.
It is clear that the Vatican and the Bergoglian Deep Church are in a panic, and we do everything to gather the consensus of the cardinals together around the name of someone who will continue the Bergoglian revolution. There are those who have every interest in burying their own crimes, along with those of Bergoglio, while in the United States there is a head-on clash of the U.S. Bishops' Conference against the Trump administration, after the scandal regarding the funds of the Agency for International Development, USAID, has brought to light the complicity of the Catholic Church in the lucrative business of immigration. It is necessary to prevent the progressive hierarchy from ensuring that one of...
So basically he was saying there was a deep state, what I'm hearing from this, in the Catholic Church. Sounds like pretty similar to what we've dealt with in Washington. So let's go ahead, and it's time to dive into the 2027 stuff.
Rome is Bergoglio's successor. That is, another usurper on the throne of Peter will be their heir and continuator of the previous one. Before hammering the final nails into Bergoglio's coffin, it is therefore essential and urgent that the light be shed on the usurpation he perpetrated and on the occupation of the Catholic Church by a corrupt and treacherous hierarchy whose sole aim is to destroy her from within. The Fourth Revolution theorized...
So here it is. Here goes about the information
by
I want you guys to get into.
Klaus Schwab and the family of international finance find in Bergoglio not a neutral spectator, which would itself already be an unheard of thing, but actually a zealous cooperator who abuses his own moral authority in order to support a destra outside the church the project of the dissolution of traditional society. While adempt are within the Church, he pursues the project of the demolition of the Church in order to replace her with a philanthropic organization of Masonic inspiration.
So he's saying that the church itself has been influenced and manipulated by Masonics, so Masonry, Freemason fraternity. And he's pretty much saying that it's been completely corrupted. And that this Pope was complicit into major destructions into the world, and that revelations will be coming.
And it is scandalous. This applied to both, to civil and ecclesiastical world, confirming the pactum sceleri, the criminal conspiracy between the deep state and the deep church. It seems to me that in this conspiracy the role of the Jesuit has been decisive. It is no coincidence.
It's crazy that he's mentioning Jesuit, because to me, I've always said the Jesuit order is the most dangerous order in human history. If you haven't done research on the Jesuit order, you should. Look up what George Washington had to say. Look at Abraham Lincoln had to say. I might shouldn't even be saying this on YouTube myself.
Is that for the first time in history, a religious of the Society of Jesus is seated on the throne of Peter.
So let's get into this. I want you guys to see. This is what I tweeted out earlier today. And this is where the video gets most interesting. This is after the Pope died. And I want you guys to know, before I get into this, on April the 9th, 2024, I tweeted, "We are entering the years of great tribulation. The entire world will know who the Antichrist is by July 2025. It's closer than you think." And this was posted, like I said, all the way back in April. And people were saying I'm crazy. It got over 1,000 retweets. 1,000 comments, 624 retweets, 5,000 likes, and 1.1 million views. So I went ahead and posted today. Here's the compilation. This is what's on the screen. It says, a 12th century prophecy hidden in Vatican's archives claims to list every pope from the year 1143 right up to Pope Francis, which is where it stops. It just stops right there. No pope after him, only 2 words, Judgment Day. Inside Santa Maria Maggiore, there's a spot for every pope portrait circling the sanctuary, but the design leaves only one empty slot after Pope Francis. They say that when the final spot is filled, it's the end. Simple as that. According to the prophecy, the time between the first pope listed and the mid-pope in 1585 was 422 years. Now add another 422 years from there, and you have 2027. That is 3 times. In addition to all of this, Pope John III himself supposedly said the end would come 2,000 years plus Christ's lifetime. Do the math, you get 2027. That is 3 times 3 predictions, all pointing to the same year. After the recent death of the Pope, we'll finally be able to verify or deny these claims. So this is what I posted on X. And it got a lot of comments and people talking back and forth about it. And as you see right here, that's the photos of all the popes except that pope right there being the last pope. They claim that when the last pope, Pope Francis dies, the Antichrist will come and return on his throne.
This is scary.
So here's some video that pretty much just breaks it down better than how I could just read it.
You ever heard about the prophecy of the popes? It's a 12th century prophecy hidden in the Vatican's archives. You know, the library that's said to contain the deepest secret of the world. It claims to list every pope from the year 1143 right up to, guess who? Pope Francis, our current pope. But here's the terrifying part. It just stops right there. No pope after him, only 2 words. Judgment Day. Yeah, it sounds dramatic, but it just started getting weird. Inside St. Paul's Basilica, there's a spot for every pope's portrait, circling the sanctuary. But the design leaves only one empty slot after Pope Francis. They say that when that final spot is filled, it's the end. Simple as that. Now here's where it twists. So, according to the prophecy, the time between the first pope listed and the midpoint pope in 1585 was 422 years. Now add another 422 years from there, and you land on 2027. Coincidence? Think again. And if that wasn't enough, Pope John XXIII himself supposedly said the end would come exactly 2,000 years plus Christ's lifetime. Do the math. You get, 2027, that's 3 times. 3 predictions, all pointing to the same year. That's not just a random guess, that's a countdown, and it's ticking.
So that's where we at. If you guys don't know, I am a large studier of the Bible, religious texts, and history. And I've been pointing towards 2027 for many things. There's even conspiracies about Planet X returning. If you don't know what Planet X is, it's Planet Nibiru. They claim that it's going to return into the orbits of the Earth on 2027. Some people believe that. Even the Raelians. The Raelians is a society, the secret society that claims that aliens created us and that they'll be returning on 2027. The thing that's interesting about the Raelians is Kanye West, when he first got suspended on X, when he was going back and forth with Elon Musk a few years back, he had posted that swastika with the Jewish star, the swastika in the middle. That was actually the Raelian logo. And the Raelians, what's even more interesting about them, they own a company called Clonate. And it's a verified human cloning company. They even spoke in front of Congress and verified that they could clone humans. The first human they cloned was a child named Eve. It was a black girl in Israel. As of today, Eve is a grown woman. This is crazy. You guys can look this up. Clonate. It's connected to the Raelians. And the Raelians is even weirder that they give these honorary titles to people. Allegedly, Minister Farrakhan got his honorable title from Raul, the leader of the Raelians. I know that was just a lot of random stuff, but I got a lot of random facts that's floating in my head. But nonetheless, it's a lot of things pointing at 2027. It could be completely false. I don't know. But it would be just an absolute shame for the world to end. And I don't have the chance to tell everyone I told them so. So I couldn't let that, I couldn't let that go. I had to try to get that in. So yeah, that's just it. It's not a long video. I don't want to grift it. I just want to provide the information. And more importantly, I want to see how people are feeling about it. I really am interested about how you feel about this one. So catch me on the next one. Please like, comment, subscribe. And of course, I'll be on the 305 podcast tonight. Well, later on, of course, because it's already night.